Howdy, I'm Karen. I'm with the Texas A&M Family and Veterans Advocacy Clinic. And today I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about e-filing. I know right now it's probably a little difficult for most people to be e-filing because you don't have access to the courthouse to go to their kiosk or desk for e-filing, nor can you go to the library and use their computer for e-filing. So what do? All right, and first, I guess I should start off for those of you who don't know what e-filing is. That means taking your piece of paper and you're going to scan it into a scanner, and then you're going to upload it, and it's going to be a readable PDF. It has to be a readable or OCR Adobe document. So that means it's a searchable document. If you type on the search engine at the top of the Adobe area, you can type in a word and it can find it within that document. That's what a searchable document is. So you're going to have a searchable document and you're going to upload it to the e-file system. From the e-file system, it transmits it to the county of your choice. And then the county assigns it a case, and that's how your document is e-filed, if everything goes right. So sometimes it doesn't. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and walk you through some basics of e-filing, and you need to probably this day and age think outside the box on how you can get those documents scanned and uploaded, since you can't go to the kiosk or to the library. Perhaps you start on your computer, you save your document to this in the Word format, and then you go to FedEx and or UPS or another office store that does that, and you give them your jump drive, you have them print it out, you sign everything, and then you ask them to scan it. And after they scan it, they upload it to this so that you can come home and upload it to the e-file system. That would probably be one workaround. Another, of course, is if you have a friend who has a scanner or a printer, that would help. If you do not, there are some phone apps that have scanners. I'm doubtful on how well it's going to work as far as uploading a document that the e-filing service will actually accept, or your clerk would actually accept. All right, so some of the things you need to do when you're going to file a document is you need to know the basics. Some of the basics are, where do I file this? What county do I file it in? Which court within the county do I file it? What forms do I need to file it? If you don't have an attorney, you can try getting an attorney, clicking this link, Legal Help, and finding an attorney through that, or you can go through the local bar association and ask if they have a lawyer referral service or a list of attorneys, and you can try and find one there. Sometimes they can help you find a low bono attorney. So pro bono is an attorney who does it for free. Most attorneys can't afford to do that because they have to pay for the roof over their head, the lighting, their paralegal if they're lucky enough to have one, and just normal cost of living. They also have to pay bills. So you can try going to Legal Help, or you might get one who does low bono. Low bono says, okay, if you meet the qualifications, I will accept your case on a sliding scale based on your income. And so that's another option. The State Bar of Texas has a lawyer referral service too. And so that's what you really need to have an attorney. But if you don't have an attorney and you're going to do it on your own, you want to start with the court basics here on texaslawhelp.org. You can see their website right there, texaslawhelp.org. All right, now let's say you have decided, I definitely have to do it on my own. I haven't been able to find an attorney. I can't afford one. You can type in what it is that you're needing information on. And so for purposes of this demonstration, I typed in custody. And so here we go, child support or child custody. So I'm going to put in that. and it gives me an overview of child custody. And it'll actually go in more in depth, and there will be some forms that you could use. It'll give you more information, but this is the starting page for you to find basic information about child custody. And TexasLawHelp.org has a lot of useful information. All right, so once you've kind of looked that over, you know what documents you're going to file, you know where you're going to file, or at least you're pretty certain you know where you're going to file. Now it's time to go to the e-filing system. So now we're going here, eFile Texas. And you can just Google eFile Texas Self-Help. It'll take you right to this page. And you'll notice there's this video over here you can watch that helps you walk you through the process. And you do have to have Adobe Flash in order to use this site, to use the video on it anyway. Now, on this site right here, it will also help you fill out forms. So if you're not going to be filing your forms through here, but you're just going to actually e-file them, which is the topic of this presentation, you will go to the e-file dashboard. Oh, let me make sure I got that shared correctly. E-file dashboard. Okay. And that's at efiletexascourts.gov. And you'll sign in, you'll create an account, you'll sign in, and you're going to start a new case. You're not going to file into an existing case unless you're doing a modification or something, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about starting a new case today. All right, so you click on Start a New Case. And we're going to do a grandparent custody case, not access, but custody. And so what we're going to do first is we're going to figure out, as soon as this comes up. All right. Okay, so you'll see on here that it asks you for the location. You'll click on that, and then you start typing the county you want. In this case, I'm going to use Tarrant County. And you'll see, oh my goodness, do I file it with a county clerk? Definitely not the criminal, because you know you're doing a family. Do I file it with the misdemeanor/civil? Because it is a civil case. No. Probate? No. All family court cases in Tarrant County are filed in the district clerk. So you'll file there. And the category, you have to figure out, okay, contract, employment, injury, other civil. That would possibly be a valid option, except for it's not for this case. You'll scroll down some more, you'll see family. So you have marriage relationship. No, this is a grandmother wanting custody of 2 children. Other family, no, because right down below that is a parent-child relationship. That's the one you're going to want to choose, because you will be affecting a parent-child relationship by a grandparent getting custody of the grandchildren. Case type, we're not doing a termination. She just wants custody so she can enroll the children in school without problems, so she can take them to extracurricular activities and go to the doctor without problem. So it's not child protection, even if CPS placed the child with her. Instead, it's going to be further down. You're going to see grandparent access. It's not that either, because this grandparent is not asking to have access to the children. She always has already has the children living with her for a couple of years. Parents aren't very involved. She actually wants full custody, so you're going to do other parent-child. Remedy. Sometimes you will also need to select a remedy when you're filing a case. If you have a protective order that you're doing, or some other special relief, a temporary restraining order, then you might need to do that. Temporary restraining order is usually the most common. Now, in this case, we're going to say no. We're not going to do any of those because we're going to say that mom and dad are both okay with grandparents having custody, or grandma. So you're going to save the changes there. And you'll see Tarrant County, family, parent, child, other parent, child, and this one is blank. All right. Now we're going to scroll down and we're going to add parties. So, excuse me, we're going to add petitioner, which is the person who is filing this lawsuit and asking for specific relief from the court. Respondent can also file something and ask for specific relief from the court, but the respondent, the second person you see right here, is the person who is responding to whatever the petitioner filed. So you're the person who's filing first. So this is Granny May Philpott. And then Granny May wants to put her email in here. So she's going to say granny@gmail.com. And that's not a real address. If it is, don't be emailing someone because I'm just using that as an example. All right. Then you can put her address in if you want. Do not put her social security number in. Now, a word about the addresses. If you are a victim of domestic violence and you want your address to remain confidential, your phone number to remain confidential, your email address to remain confidential, you're not going to put that information in this site because it can become publicly searchable. And in your pleadings, you will ask for a confidential address. All right, so if you do want to put an address in here, you can put in a, I have an email that I use for spam. If I want to sign up for something, but I think it's going to give me a lot of spam and I don't want it to go into my regular email, I have this other email that receives all of that. So you could have one of those alternate email addresses, one that you can totally get rid of once the suit is over if you want. Address, if you feel like you need to put an address in here, you can put a P.O. box in if you have one. And cell phone number, just don't put it in. Domestic violence victims have to be very careful about the information that they are putting out there so that the abuser cannot find them. All right, so we're going to save changes on that. And now we're going to put in respondent's name. So the first respondent we're going to put is Granny's son. Granny's son is Richard Joe Philpott. And because the whole reason he doesn't really have much to do with his kid is because he likes to smoke pot. So we've given him an appropriate email address. And that, again, is a fake email. Do not email this person. If they happen to have one, they're not going to know anything about this. So philpott@gmail.com. And so then you can put in his address, his phone number, all of that information. Again, no social security number. Save changes. Now you're like, okay, well, I have a petitioner respondent. That's all I need, right? No, both parents have to be notified. And if one of the parents is dead, there's a different procedure, but we're not going into that today. So party type will also be respondent. And this one is going to be Eliza Doolittle. And Eliza doesn't have a lot to do with her kids, so she is do little or nothing at gmail.com. All right. So we've got her information in there. We're going to put her address, no social again, and then you'll save changes. Now, if any of these parties have an attorney, sometimes it's going to have an option to put the attorney's name in there, but most likely not. It's only going to be the attorneys in the firm who's filling this out. And since you're not a firm, you're not going to have that in there. All right. And let me see something. And you could always put pro se right there for each party. Save changes. All right. Now you're like, okay, I got mom and dad, granny, I'm good. Unfortunately, no. You still have a little bit more work to do. So now we're just going to add one child. I know I've been saying children, but I'm going to just add one child because it will save on time. In re or on behalf of is the one we'll choose. And then the child's name, little boy blue. We're not putting any email or address information in for a child. He's under 18. We do not need to put that in there. All right, so you'll just save changes on that. And you're like, okay, now for sure I've got it. Well, maybe. So if Granny has not been receiving Medicaid on behalf of the children, then you're probably okay to go ahead and go. But if Medicaid has been involved or other state welfare benefits, the state has a right to be reimbursed for that. And so they want to get child support from the parents in the form of medical and dental support to help repay the state for the cost of providing those services to the children. So we're going to add the Attorney General in here as a party. And first we have to mark them as a business. And then we're going to also make them a respondent. Usually they'll be an intervener because they'll intervene into the case. But for now, I'm just going to make them a respondent. And the business office of the Attorney General Child Support Division. All right, and then you're going to have an address for them. You'll want to email their legal department. If you know the legal department's email for the county you're in, that would be the one you want to put in here. For now, I'm just going to make one up. OAG, that's Office of the Attorney General, and I'm going to put gmail.com again. Okay, so we've got their information, and that's all we need on there. Save changes. Now you officially have all the parties listed that you need. All right, now on both Richard and Eliza, Granny has to give them personal service. So you would normally just, for this type of thing, just put e-file because you're e-filing the pleading, and then you will later e-file a service request form. But in this case, because the Office of the Attorney General is also involved, you are going to want to do e-file and serve so that they can be served by email. You cannot serve Richard and Eliza by email. They have to be personally served. With the Attorney General, you can serve by the email address. So now we have to figure out what we're going to put the filing in. Well, first thing you see is OAG on there, and you think, wow, I'll just use one of those. You can't use that. That is only for the Attorney General's office to use when they are filing a document. When you're filing, you have to file something else. So we're doing an original petition, $330. Now, if you had an affidavit of inability to pay court costs, you would also make a separate filing that would, down here where it says statement of inability to pay costs, you would add that, and it's an additional filing. But we're not doing that here. We're paying for the fees, $330. And then we're just going to put petition in here. You can name the document however you want, as long as it's not a bad name. All right, and then the lead document, you're going to hit this. And let's see. I'm just going to put this and pretend that's my pleading. So you'll add the pleading in there. And then you'll add any attachments that are necessary to the pleading as attachments. Okay, so click security contains sensitive data. I put that on all of mine. And then if there's something in the document that you filed that needs redacted, like an address or perhaps a social security number that got put in there, and you need to do the auto redaction, make sure it redacted it. If not, you're going to have to redact it yourself. All right, then you do your attachments, and then you need to save the changes. So we're going to do that. Now, you will have also obtained an e-file service request form. And let me go back up here, add another filing. And so this is going to be request. Where is it at? Okay. It's not on here. So what you will do instead is you will do the e-file service request after your petition is accepted. So once your petition is accepted, you come back in and you ask for the parties to be served. When the parties are served, I'm just going to pretend I've put in request in here, even though that's not what I'm using. When you get the e-file service request, the lead document is going to be that document asking for service. And at least in Tarrant County, that's how we do it. Other counties might have a different way for doing service, so you want to make sure you know. All right, so then I would add service fees for them to serve the e-file document. And I want them to do copies, because they will require you to pay for the copies that you're going to have served. Even if you're on a paupers, which they shouldn't do, because paupers affidavits cover every cost of court. But for some reason, some counties are not honoring that. Then you will also have to do issue citation, because you'll want both parties to receive citations. So you'll have 2 citations. And I need to go back up to the copies, because I'm going to be serving the petition and any attachments. Usually attachments might be statement on health insurance availability and a non-military affidavit saying neither parent's in the military. So I'm going to just put 2 into that. No, 4, because you've got husband or mom and dad. Okay, so you've got that. Issue citation. Then, in addition to citation, if they are in the same county, you're going to put a constable fee on there. So you scroll down to service, constable, and you'll put 2 of those in there. If they're not in that county, it's going to be a little bit different. You will have to pay the county where you are asking service. So instead of putting the $75 in here, you will have to contact Dallas County and the constable's office and get the money paid to Dallas County Constable. But this is all through Tarrant County. So I'm asking for $75 for each service for the constable. I'm asking $8 for each of the citations and 4 copies of documents. All right. And then I would save the changes. So let me see. I'm just going to attach a document and pretend like that is my e-file service request. Again, I only have proposed order in there just because that's the easiest way to do right now, but it will actually say request right there if you are doing an e-file service request form. All right, security again, I do sensitive data, and then I'm going to save changes. Okay, now on this, you will note that it says service contacts. So I have to look and see no service contacts for this party, none listed for this one. Even though I put the email, when I set the file up, it's not showing up. So we go down to the Office of the Attorney General, the only one that I really want e-service for. So add new service contact. And come on. So let's say the Attorney General who's involved in this is named Jane Doe. And then you're going to do Jane Doe at oag.gmail.com. All right, so let's say that's where we wanted to send the service document. And you'll see that's the only one that shows up right there. All right, then you've got the filing fee. You're going to look, okay, you've got the filing fee, you've got the service. And again, I only select proposed order for this instance. It should say request on there. And then we're going to come down to payment account. If it's a waiver, then you're going to type that in. I'm just going to go ahead and type waiver, even though I haven't filed a poppers. And then you're going to say who is responsible. Granny's the one filing it, so she's responsible. Filer type, pro se. And save changes. All right. Now, you'll see you've got a summary, which allows you to go up and look, okay, I've got one person who's going to be electronically served. The other people are going to be regularly served. These are what I'm serving, and these are the people. Okay, so you say, okay, everything's fine. You hit summary. And then you still have to review and submit one more time. If you did not hit submit here, you will only have a draft. You will not have filed anything. So you're going to hit submit. And I will go recall that in a minute so that they won't think I'm crazy for filing this suit. And anyway, so you'll submit it. Then you're going to receive an email telling you it was submitted. That is not the same as accepted. So you want to wait until you receive the second email that says your filing was accepted. Once the filing's been accepted, then you need to figure out what your next step is. Go back to texaslawhelp.org, see what it says your next step is. One of the things you definitely want to do is call the clerk and make sure that service has gone out, because even though you had it in there and you think you did it right, you may not. And one of the biggest things that usually happens is service for citation just sits at the citation desk and it never gets sent out because no one ever followed up to make sure that it was done correctly in the first place. So you need to do that. And if it is returned, which is likely, that happens a lot, you just look at what the clerk's notes were. You try to revise it the way they said. Call them if you need help and say, okay, I'm trying to e-file this and I don't understand what you're saying. Most of the time they'll help you. They cannot give you legal advice, but they can probably help you get it filed correctly. And that is all I have for you. I hope that you have a wonderful day and that you stay safe, healthy, and happy. Thank you.